Hi there, it's Nicole here today, and I'm sharing a couple of coffee card gift holders. This is an awesome new die from Honeybee Stamps, part of the fall release. And there were two different coffee card type of cards in the release. One is more of a coffee card shaped card, and this one is specifically for putting together a card to hold a gift card. And how the gift card stays in here is once you have die cut the card and you put the little flap over, you put the belly band around it after you've put the gift card in the card here, and it's going to hold it in place. So stinking unique, very, very clever. Coffee cards are just a great little gift to give anyone at any time, really. I'm going to create a couple here that are going to work not only for maybe Christmas or the holiday season, but beyond. Even though I'm using the little polar bear and the scarf, one of my cards, the first one I'm going to create here, is definitely geared towards Christmas. The other one, my daughter is actually using to give a coffee card to her friend for her birthday. And it's just more of a little scarf around the neck. Works for fall season as well. Doesn't necessarily scream Christmas, although it could be used for Christmas. Now I'm going to take, and I masked off the bottom. I went ahead and figured out where the front of my card is. I used an anti-cling powder tool, and then I laid out 4 of the snowflake shapes from the Flakey Friends stamp set, and I picked them up with an acrylic block so that I could stamp them all at once. And I'm simply going to keep flipping this stamp around and fill the entire front of the card with these snowflakes. I want this coffee cup to be red with white snowflakes. I think the best way to get this, you could try a white pigment ink, but I think white pigment ink often kind of fades into pink onto a red card base especially. So I tend to like to stamp with Versamark ink, sprinkle on white embossing powder, and emboss it for that really bright white look. I think this is a really fun way to create a card. You could create a bunch of these all at once. It actually is very quick to do, especially when you put multiple stamps on one acrylic block. Then I'm going to take the white embossing powder and sprinkle it on here. And I will heat set the front of the card. I started with the card bases for both of these. I really wanted to make sure that I had the card base, all of the elements in place, and the greetings where I wanted them to go before I added the cute little Flakey Friends polar bear embellishment. Any powder residue that might be left over after you've heat embossed, the powder tool is fantastic for keeping the embossing powder where it's supposed to be. But a lot of times you'll have that powdery look after you're done, that kind of chalkboard type of look, and that's probably not always what you're going for. All you have to do is once that embossing powder is cooled, I like to just rub my finger over the cardstock, over the embossing to buff away some of that powder. Before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and stamp a customization stamp on the back of this coffee card. On any card I make, I will stamp made by Nicole or handmade by Nicole, whatever it might be. And so I'm just going to do this now while the card is still relatively flat. Makes it much easier before it's all folded up and anything else is attached either to the front or the inside of the card. I pre-die cut the top of the card with the die that comes with the coffee card gift holder, and I die cut this from black cardstock. And I'm going to use the powder tool on this as well to stamp the first part of my greeting for the red coffee card. I'm going to stamp "You Warm My Heart" and shift it slightly over to the left so that there's room for a little heart at the end of this sentiment. But I want to stamp the phrase first Stamp that with Versamark ink, heat emboss with the white embossing powder again. I love the look of white embossing powder on black. I think the little lid here is a perfect place to stamp a little something. Great place for a little sentiment. And that area at the end, there is an adorable little heart from the Flakey Friends stamp set that I am going to stamp right there with Versamark ink again. But this time I'm going to heat emboss with red embossing powder. This is some ROUGE American Crafts embossing powder I've had forever. I love it for adding little red embossed touches to things. And I love the look of the red embossing on this black coffee cup lid. Again, I'll heat set this. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach this to the top of my red coffee card. I was really anxious to see how it was going to look as it all comes together. I wanted adhesive to be all over the back of this, so I ran it through the Xyron sticker maker. Go ahead and grab my card here. I have a little bit of embossing powder all over my work surface. I must have spilled it. If that happens, I like to use the Swiffer dry cloths to pick it up. The embossing powder tends to cling to it really easily, and it's a great way to clean up glitter mess, gilding flake mess, embossing powder messes. I keep a little box of them in my work area. Makes it really easy to clean up any of those little spills. So there is what the base of the coffee card looks like. Now the band that goes around the card, I did die cut from some Desert Storm cardstock. This is a great craft colored cardstock. And I am using the die and the bear stamp as a guide to kind of where I can put the greetings for this band. I want the bear to be kind of off to the left, but still on the coffee card. I don't want it to be hanging off too much. A little bit is okay, but not too much. So I'm going to position the rest of my greetings, which will read, "Love you a latte." I also should mention all of my greetings here are from the Perfect Blend stamp set. This stamp set coordinates with all the coffee themed stamps and dies that came out with the fall release here, and I love that Honeybee Stamps creates these fantastic greeting stamp sets that you can mix and match the greetings to say what you want them to say. There are so many different ways to use them, great different fonts. There are some really cute ones. I love, even though I didn't use them, I love the Life Happens Coffee Helps. There's a hug in a mug. And then there's the Please Don't Make Me Prove It, which I think would be hilarious with another greeting. It would be great as a sub greeting. Once I have the basics for my red cup, I'm going to go ahead and set that aside and work on my second coffee card example. For this one, I'm taking the coffee cups and mugs from Flakey Friends. I did the same thing as the snowflakes and simply stamped those all over this aqua card base with Versamark ink, but instead of embossing these, I am just going to leave these as a watermark image. They're going to be, a lot more subtle this way. Then the band for this one, also out of craft cardstock, is going to read Perfect Blend. Stamping my handmade by stamp on the back, and then the top of this particular coffee cup is going to be Our Friendship is a Perfect Blend, is what it's going to end up reading. So this greeting goes from the top of the card to the little band to finish it off. I'm going to go ahead and emboss this with white embossing powder, adhere this to the top of the coffee cup, and then I can start stamping the polar bear and accessories from Flakey Friends to add to both of my coffee cup cards. So there's the top of it. Again, the little band, it holds it closed. Isn't that so super cute and clever? I could see doing a bunch of these for the holidays. I think they would make incredible little gifts to give out to anyone. Grab a little gift card and give it to all of those people that you want, you just need a little gift for. Would be great in teacher gifts. It would be great for maybe your mail carrier or your hairdresser or whoever it might be. There's always that huge long list of people that you need just a little something for, and I think this would be a fantastic presentation and so super cute and fun. I have stamped the polar bear twice, plus 2 scarves, 2 of the coffee cups, because I couldn't resist that the coffee cup from Flakey Friends matches this coffee cup so well. I just thought it was so super cute. And what is incredible about this polar bear is that the die cuts his paws, so you can put the coffee cup down inside of his paws or whatever. If you're not maybe using that, you could use any other image that fits there. But I love that it has die lines. You don't have to take an X-Acto knife to cut it in there, but it gives the illusion he's holding it, which I think is absolutely adorable. And then I did the stocking cap for just one of the bears. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, one of these I wanted to gear definitely more towards the holidays. The rest the other one rather, I wanted to gear towards an anytime or a fall themed type of card. So the hat's going to match the scarf. I kind of did it wrong. I probably should have done all of the images up here red, but I'd already started coloring when I realized it, so that's no big deal. The colors I'm using for each area of these images is shown across the bottom of the screen, stating what I'm coloring and what colors of Copic markers I'm using, and hopefully that serves as a great little guide. The coffee cups themselves, I'm really just making the lid of the cups dark gray, just kind of like I did here for my coffee card gift holder, and then the rest just a nice light white with a couple of warm grays. Now I colored my first scarf to real kind of oceany blue, I guess, water blue, I don't know what you want to call it, instead of that more aqua color, which I really loved, so I did save that because I thought I could create another card later on with that. And I went ahead and grabbed some more aqua colored markers and stamped and colored in another scarf. I'm going to die cut all the images. I wanted to show that the hat did not die cut all the way through, so I'm going to simply put the die right back down there, run it through the die cutting machine again, and it die cuts it perfect. So if you ever have that where your die maybe doesn't die cut the image all the way, go ahead and just kind of move that die till it fits back into the grooves from where you've already die cut it. Use a little low tack tape to hold it in place and run it through your machine again, and you should get a great die cut piece there. It's time to put everything together and add those finishing touches. I like to get everything die cut so I can put them all together at once. And I'll show you the great little die lines in the bear. You really can't see them when you first die cut them. You have to kind of push in just a little bit, and you can see that you can add the little coffee cup inside its hands or paws. So cute. I'm going to grab some little mini glue dots and I'll tuck that down into his paws. And it looks so much nicer than sticking the coffee cup on top of his paws or even trying to cut it yourself. I really love dies that do this. I think it's really incredible. Now, I was not super careful with where I put my adhesive, and you kind of have to be with this because he sticks out over the top of the band. So if you have adhesive at the top, it's going to stick to the card and you can't remove that. I simply flipped my band over and rubbed off my glue dots there from the top of the bear. But I need to be a little bit more careful with the next one to make sure I keep my glue dots from being too high up on his head. I'm going to go ahead and add his cute little scarf here, but the scarf is covering up the coffee cup. Instead, I'd rather have the coffee cup on top of the scarf, so I'm just going to flip those. That looks much, much better. Now, I always like to go in with a black pen and darken up the eyes, and in this case, the nose is so prominent. I want it to be really glossy and black, but it has that great little highlight in it, so I'm going to make sure and go back once my black pen has completely dried and go in with a white pen and add that highlight back in on his nose. I've also added some detail to the bottom of his paws to really make them stand out. How cute is that little polar bear? I just think he's adorable. I love these Flakey Friends images. So here is my little guy with his hat. And he's got a red scarf. And this time I put the scarf on first, and then I will tuck that coffee cup down into his hands. Perfect. And then I want to figure out where to put the adhesive on the hat so that, again, it is not overhanging, that it doesn't stick to the coffee card base. And I think maybe I got a little bit that is. I'll have to rub that off here in a minute. Put some adhesive on the back of this little guy and tuck him in place as well. And then I want to add black gel pen accents to his eyes, nose, and the bottoms of his feet. You could even do it on the little claws on the front feet. I didn't do that when I created the card, but I'm almost thinking now that I'm finished that I might go back and do that just to make them really stand out. They're very prominent, I think, on the design. So here is the second little band. I just think this is so ingenious how it holds the whole card together. Such a cute, fun little project and a fantastic gift card holder. Now, I've probably given the first card enough time to dry, so I'm going to go back in with my white pen and add detail to the nose. That little highlight adds a lot to the design. And I want to use some glossy accents, and I really thought I would just place it on the hearts to begin with, but I didn't really like how it looked. So I went ahead and added glossy accents to the whole band on both of the cards. Add that highlight in on the second bear's nose as well. And I added some special bear hug greetings and bear paws to the inside of both cards. Put them together, and my coffee card gift holders are all finished. Thanks for joining me today for these coffee card gift holders featuring honeybee stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create these cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring honeybee that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.